We got the T blade, we got the square blade, we got both of our outliners with us. We're going to review them today. What's up everybody, this is KG. Today we're going to be reviewing the Andis outliner. This is a lining blade and it comes in two different models, the T blade model and the square blade model. Most of the specs on these two outliners are pretty much the same, so I'm going to be using only one to talk about, but I will compare the blades later. So the model I got in my hand right now is the square blade model. If you look at the body, it's a polymer plastic body. It's quite strong and it has a nice shape and design to it, so it is quite easy to hold when you want to use it to cut people's lineups and hair. If you look closely here, this is the on-off switch, and I'll just turn it on and off for you once to see how it works. Now, one very cool thing about this liner is that I've had it since the late 90s and it's still going strong. It has lasted me for over 20 years and has given me good service. For some reason, I actually have the original box. So the square shaped outliner is actually called the Outliner 2. And if I turn this around, you can see the instructions on it. And if you look at it on this side, it gives you the specs, 120 volts, 60 hertz. And if you look really closely, this says 1997. So that box is my proof that I actually had it for that long. Now I'm showing you both outliners again. This is a newer one. I've actually borrowed it off my friend Sean. I believe his outliner is only a couple of years old, but you will see the on-off switch is a little bit different on his. He actually has a bit of a handle on his. So when he wants to turn it on, he can turn it on and off easier with this handle. In my version, there's no real handle on it, so you really gotta pinch this thing to turn it on and pinch it to turn it off. So that is a little bit of an annoyance in the older model. Now the way this is supposed to be used, it is meant for cutting and doing lineups, beard lineups, trims, your neckline, your ear lines, and it has an electromagnetic motor in it, which is meant to cut dry hair only. It's not really meant to cut wet hair. If you try to cut wet hair with this thing, it will get really loud on you and it won't sound nice. So make sure when you're cutting your hair is dry. The motor revolves at around 7,200 RPM and it is a really strong motor. So the one unique thing about the Outliner 2 versus the T outliner is that you can actually get guards for this one in case you want to do some hair trimming. Now personally, I would not recommend doing any trimming with this. I've tried it with the guards, I bought them, and your hair kind of gets caught in it sometimes. So I would strictly only use this to do lineups and not to use the guards to cut. But if you really need it, the option is there. These are the four guards that do come with it. It's a 1/16, a 1/8, a 1/4, and a 3/8 inch guard. So just to give you an example, if you actually want to use it, this is the guard. It goes on top and it just snaps into place. That's it. And now it's in place. So that is one unique feature of the Outliner 2. These guards do need to be bought separately. They don't come with the actual outliner. And of course, every time you buy a clipper, it comes with the clipper oil. So when you actually do use the Andis outliner, this thing does tend to get hot after a little while. I would say you get about 10 minutes of use out of it, and then it starts warming up and it can get really, really hot. For me, once the motor heats up, this area starts getting really, really hot. So when you're holding on to it, your hand starts getting hot. You start moving it over kind of like this to avoid the heat. So the one thing about this is you want to learn to use it quickly and be able to finish your lineups fairly quickly. Otherwise, it can become a problem. Now, I have seen some people modify these things. They actually drill holes inside to allow air ventilation to occur, or they will do something called a skeletonization of the top, where they cut this top area off, again, to let air kind of come in there and keep the motor from getting too hot. If you're a professional barber, of course, you can consider doing something like that. For me, I only use this for home use, and I have gotten pretty fast at it, so I usually finish my lineups within 10 minutes or so, and it doesn't really heat up too much. But this is something to keep in mind when purchasing this type of an outliner. In comparison, this is my Andis Slimline Pro Li, which is a cordless outliner. This thing, I can use it for half an hour, 45 minutes. It will never get hot. It may warm up a little bit, but it will never get hot and it will never burn to the touch. So if you're looking for a longer period of time of trimming, you may want to consider something like this. Just keep in mind that this one has a much narrower blade, so it won't cover as much ground as the outliner and the TOutliner. Now when I bought this Andis Outliner 2, it came pretty close to being zero gap right from the moment I bought it. So for me, I never adjusted this thing. It always was good right from the get-go. The other amazing thing about it is when you cut with this blade, it actually feels good on your skin. It gives you a nice feeling. It's a smooth metal. And when you do something like a dry shave, it gives you a really close, clean shave with this blade. Now the Outliner 2 is about 1.25 inches in length. And this is the TOutliner. The TOutliner is about 1.5 inches in length. So it is a longer blade. If you look here, it's not a square shape. It has a little T at the end that comes out. That makes this blade much more versatile. You can actually use it to cut around your ears better, in and around your nose. It really gives you a lot more freedom to work and a lot more flexibility versus the Outliner 2. I would definitely say this is the one to go with if you're trying to do some creative outlines and cuts. And coming back to my Outliner 2, you can see this one is more square in shape. And I would say this type of a blade is more for a person who is looking to do dry shaves, simple lineups, and nothing too complicated. If you want to get fancy, definitely move over to the TOutliner. For me, this was the first outliner I bought, and it's so good, it's pretty much lasted me my whole life. I never actually needed to change over to a TOutliner, and I got used to doing this. So for me, I can do all my lineups using this particular blade. So as I was saying before, this can be used for quick shaves. If you have issues with razor bumps and things like that, this helps eliminate that problem. The blades are made of carbon steel, and like I said, it feels really good on your skin, and it gives you a nice, clean, close shave. Now, I'm not a professional barber. I use this personally for my own use at home. So keeping that in mind, I don't do heavy duty use on it, and that's probably why it's lasted me so long, because this is actually meant for heavy duty use, and I've spread that use over the course of 20 years or more. I also regularly oil my blades, and I regularly wipe all the extra hair off after cutting my hair with a toothbrush, and I use the Andis Cool Care to keep it clean. So if you do proper care on your blades, they pretty much will last you forever, as you can see from my own personal experience. Now lastly, I want to tell you guys about traveling. This is a 120 volt, 60 hertz outliner, which means you got to use that type of an outlet wherever you travel to. So if you go to a country where there's 220 volt, you got to convert it back over to 120. But on top of that, the hertz is also important. Because it's a magnetic motor, it has to remain at 60 hertz to work properly. If you go to a country that has 120 volts but has 50 hertz, this thing's gonna go haywire. It's not gonna work properly. So you gotta be careful when you take this out of country to travel. Only use it in places that have 60 hertz and you can convert to 120 volt electricity. Or you can choose to do something else, which is buy a cordless outliner, which you can take with you all over the world. You just need to plug it in to charge, and it works without being plugged in anywhere else. And lastly, I'm gonna do a sound test for you. The Outliner 2 is a little bit quieter because it is a bit smaller size blade, but there isn't too much of a difference. Listen for yourself. First, the Outliner 2. And now the TOutliner. So obviously the TOutliner is louder, but really that wouldn't bother me at all. I'll also give you a sound comparison with my cordless outliner. And this one is a rotary motor. So that's basically my review for the Andis outliner. I would definitely recommend it for your home barbering kit. I always think it's good to have a reliable corded liner as a base liner for your home kit. You can always expand with the cordless one later, but I would always start with one that you can plug in first, which is your go-to in case your battery one dies. And plus, like I said, for me, I've had such good use out of it. If I can get 20 years out of it, I'm definitely recommending it to everybody else. All right, guys, so let me know if you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do so and hit that bell button so you're notified each and every time I post a new video. Share this video with all of your friends, and we'll see you again next time. Take care. Peace out.